Democrats in Washington, D.C. and New York are freaking out because the migrant crisis has hit them particularly hard and they're at capacity. Now, it's not that these migrants are illegally entering the country and then walking up to D.C. or taking buses to New York City. It's that they're actually being sent there. Texas and Arizona have been busing migrants into Washington, D.C. and New York. And get this, it's not just Texas and Arizona. The federal government is actually sending migrants to these cities as well, and they can't handle it. Now the D.C. mayor is calling for the National Guard to help with the migrants arriving from Texas and Arizona. I must admit, I was wrong-ish. I questioned what was the purpose of Texas sending illegal immigrants to D.C. Biden wants to bring these migrants in. They've been trafficking children. So all you're really doing is helping, I guess. But I suppose now the hypocrisy is being exposed, and maybe this will have a positive impact. I still think, and I will stand by, the appropriate thing for Texas and Arizona to do when they have illegal immigrants in their jurisdiction is to place them on a bus, but send them back home. Or, depending on where they come from, back to Mexico at least, where the Mexican government should be stopping this when these people come from Honduras or Guatemala. They're not doing it. Now, maybe that would be better. But it's also possible that by sending these migrants to New York and to D.C., they've forced the federal government and Democrats to admit this is a very serious problem. Of course, I got to say, it doesn't actually solve the problem. It does bring attention to it, but that's like saying starting a fire so that people notice there's a fire is a strategy. I kind of don't think so. Now, it is funny to see they're freaking out. Eric Adams of New York is extremely angry. And now Joe Biden has approved the building of a wall. Yeah, at least in one part on the southern border. So it's not perfect. Now, we're in a recession, as you may have heard, as much as the White House, the media are all trying to deny that we're in a recession. Based on any technical standard, not the official standard necessarily, 2 consecutive quarters of contraction is a recession. We now have the economists saying, well, the shortfall in immigration is causing us an economic problem. Oh, wow. Here we go. Is that why they want migrants to come in? To bolster the economy? I think we can bolster the economy in other ways. Maybe, stop deficit spending and the mass printing of money. Those are some feasible ways that we can help get the economy back on track. Maybe bringing back energy production to the United States, stopping the ban on fracking in a variety of areas, actually helping the energy industry, be it nuclear power or oil. This is the reality. I'm not here to tell you that oil and fossil fuels are clean and perfect and we should have more. I don't know. I think climate change is an issue, but I will tell you this. Outside of any moral grandstanding or virtue signaling as it pertains to climate change, in whatever direction, for or against, if you want a better economy, cheap gas, you need to ramp up energy production. I think it's fair to say Joe Biden does not want that. Joe Biden has been saying we should get off fossil fuels. So could it be the reason they're shipping in all of these migrants is to try and artificially inflate some kind of short-term economic growth? The idea being that they're going to have to buy food and shelter, create competition. Ultimately, I think illegal immigration is a problem. And The Economist actually says so. The issue is we need legal immigration that is planned. So all this is doing is actually making the problem worse. And who's to blame? Joe Biden. As much as the mayor of D.C. and New York want to claim it's Texas and Arizona, even the New York Post says federal authorities appear to be shipping these migrants into these cities as well. So maybe if these people woke up and called out Joe Biden, things could be different. Maybe if everyone got together and said we need to secure the border, things would be different. And maybe it took Texas and Arizona sending migrants to D.C. to make the statement to finally bring about some kind of change. It's beautifully ironic, I suppose, calling for the National Guard. Let's read the news. But before we do, my friends, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work directly. The political attacks are ramping up. Election season is near, and they're getting more and more angry with me. There's been a few hit pieces that are coming out. They're trying to get me banned and canceled. If you want to support the work and make sure they can't do it, timcast.com, click that sign up button. But also don't forget, we got a new show out. Tales from the Inverted World Season 2, Ghosts of the Civil War is now out, available on timcast.com, a members exclusive, and more shows are coming. I want to make sure that everyone has a reason to be a member at timcast.com. And if you are, we're going to give you as much content as possible. So don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Here's the story from the Washington Post. D.C. Mayor asks for National Guard to help with Texas and Arizona migrants. D.C. Mayor Muriel E. Bowser, a Democrat, said Thursday she is seeking to have 150 National Guard troops deployed to the city to help with the thousands of migrants arriving on chartered buses from Texas and Arizona, a politics-driven influx from those border states that has overwhelmed local aid groups. Quote, "We need space, and we need the federal government to be involved," Bowser said at the end of a news conference on a separate topic, calling the busloads of migrants seeking U.S. asylum who have been arriving at Union Station a humanitarian crisis that we expect to escalate. How dare you? It's fascinating. D.C., a federal jurisdiction, calling the migrant crisis a humanitarian crisis. Why is the federal government not taking action on the southern border? Well, maybe they're starting to, but why haven't they been? Maybe you needed them to feel the pain before anything would get done. I want to briefly mention this and we'll come back. Biden administration to close border wall gaps in Arizona. Really? I got no problem saying, maybe I was wrong. Arizona starts sending wave after wave of illegal immigrants to D.C. and all of a sudden now Biden's like, maybe we should patch up that hole in the southern border of Arizona. Yeah. Several aid groups assisting the migrants denounced the request as seeking to militarize a problem that should provoke a more humanitarian response in a region increasingly made up of immigrants. Quote, "We need space." So this is I read that already. Bowser, who also has been facing calls by some members of the D.C. Council to do more to assist the migrants, formally made the request to the Defense Department last week. A spokesman for Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin declined to comment on the request Thursday, saying it is still being evaluated. The secretary takes this request for assistance very seriously. He and his team are working through the details and will respond to the mayor's office as soon as a decision has been reached. Bowser's request comes amid an ongoing surge of migrants, many from Venezuela, Cuba, or Central Africa, at the U.S.-Mexico border as the Biden administration seeks to end Title 42, a pandemic-related policy that paused nearly all asylum proceedings at the border. With the Trump-era Remain in Mexico program also ending, Texas Governor Greg Abbott accused Biden of being too lax on border enforcement. In April, Abbott launched a program to send migrants who arrive in his state to the district. So the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across the border. Full stop. Why isn't Texas just sending the National Guard to their own border to enforce their own laws? I'm sorry. As much as it's like, okay, maybe now they'll mobilize something. Carrie Lake, she's running for governor in Arizona, and she's outright said they're going to declare an invasion and they're going to mobilize. Texas should be doing the same. Why are you relying on the federal government to solve your issues? They say. A month later, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey followed suit with his own voluntary program busing migrants to D.C. The burden of assisting the more than 4,000 migrants who have come to D.C. since then has fallen on local aid groups, many of them staffed by volunteers who have met the migrants at Union Station and helped them find temporary shelter or assisted them with plans to reach their final destinations in other parts of the country as they await asylum court dates. A large portion of these people never show up for those court dates. It's a sad reality. SAMU First Response, a group based in Spain that has been among those assisting the migrants, is looking for lease space near Union Station that would serve as a respite center, providing temporary lodging and other basic needs. Part of the Federal Emergency Management Agency grant of at least $1 million it has to help those arriving. With a similar facility in Montgomery County, near capacity, and the region's social services network already strained as Texas and Arizona continue their programs, Bowser said, the situation has reached a tipping point that requires a more robust response from the Biden administration. In a July 19th letter to the Department of Defense, her administration proposed creating a temporary processing center at the D.C. Armory, the Joint Base Anacostia Balling military installation, or the Fort Leslie J. McNair Post, all of which are short drives from Union Station. Under the proposal, National Guard troops would shuttle newly arrived migrants to that location where they could stay and find help in reaching other destinations, a setup that would be similar to the federal government's response to the arrival of thousands of Afghan refugees last summer. We need to make sure that there is a national response, Bowser said Tuesday, not an ad hoc city-by-city, state-by-state response. I got to hand it to Texas and Arizona, getting the Democrat mayor of D.C. to say, we need a national approach to this. Yeah, you do. And I can't believe it took this to make it happen. It's shameful, said Amy Fisher, a volunteer with the Sanctuary DMV aid group that has been assisting the migrants as part of a larger migrant solidarity mutual aid network. The network and other immigrant advocates have been pushing for more city funding to help those migrants get settled. I just like to point out, I can praise that it's been effective, but I absolutely must condemn. These people are not mad. These activist groups, they're probably happy that the migrants are coming into their city because now they can shuttle them around the country. You are letting them come in. You're not solving the problem. I don't know. Maybe the idea is, yeah, you're letting some illegal immigrants in, but the problem gets so bad, they'll be forced to shut down the border. But I'll put it this way. If the Biden administration wants, 1 million new migrants to come in, and then you get them in faster, and then he goes, oh, okay, time to shut things down. All you've did was help him fill his quota faster. You need to take the people who are here illegally and deport them and say, sorry, but you can't enter illegally. Please apply legally. I think legal immigration is fantastic. I think it would be great for our economy to have legal immigrants coming in and then creating demand for new services. But that's not what's happening. They're creating a seedy underbelly. They're creating exploitation. Children are dying in the desert. From the Daily Mail. Every single American community is now a border city. Republican Kevin McCarthy tears into hypocrisy of D.C. Mayor and White House for using National Guard to deal with migrant crisis Democrats created after refusing to use them for riots. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I can appreciate the rhetoric coming from Kevin McCarthy. Where was y'all's action? I don't think the Republicans do much, but fine. Let's see what he has to say. GOP leader Kevin McCarthy slammed the hypocrisy of Mayor Muriel Bowser and the White House, considering sending the National Guard to help handle migrants being bused in the nation's capital, but not when protesters ransacked the city to demonstrate against police brutality in the summer of 2020. Hey, Kevin, why don't you set up a committee when you win in November to call out and investigate the 529 insurrection? Bowser wrote a letter to the Biden administration requesting the National Guard, this we covered. So they're concerned about migrants coming to America illegally within their cities. Have they ever been to the border? McCarthy told the Daily Mail during a press briefing. They were concerned about bringing the National Guard in after what was happening here during the summers, and people's safety was concerned. That they didn't think the National Guard should be there just shows the hypocrisy of the mayor and the hypocrisy of the White House. I'm sorry, man. You've got to have Texas and Arizona mobilizing their own National Guard. Let me just throw some shade their way. You mean to tell me you are busing these migrants to D.C.? D.C. is calling in the National Guard, but y'all haven't called in the National Guard to deport these people? I think it's a manipulation. I think it is downright dirty games. Quote, every single community in America is now a border city, McCarthy said, reiterating a line Republicans have frequently used as border encounters have soared above 200,000 each month since March. The GOP leader noted that fentanyl is now the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45. Texas Governor Greg Abbott first started busing migrants from his border state to D.C. in April in Arizona. Arizona, Governor Doug Ducey followed suit a month later. Since the start of the initiative, more than 125 buses have transported 4,800 migrants from the Texas border to D.C. and 27 buses to the nation's capital. So I don't want to rehash. We know that they're doing this. I want to show you this. A post. Monday, November 14th, 2016, from mayor.dc.gov. Today, Mayor Bowser issued the following statement, reaffirming the district's status as a sanctuary city. Quote, the values, laws, and policies of Washington, D.C. did not change on Election Day. We celebrate our diversity and respect all D.C. residents, no matter their immigration status. We are a sanctuary city because we know that our neighborhoods are safer and stronger when no one is afraid to call on our government for help. and when our police can focus on protecting and serving. How dare you, Mayor Bowser? You're a sanctuary city. You want these people there. You protect them and defy federal law and immigration. So when Texas and Arizona say, hey, we can't sustain this, you apparently can, why don't you take the people? They're better off, right? How dare you then call in the National Guard? But let's be real. Are they calling in the National Guard because they're upset about this? Or are they calling in the National Guard to facilitate their processing? You know, look, I think Republicans are walking into a trap. They want more migrants coming into the country. You think Joe Biden has been smuggling children into this country because they don't want them here? The National Guard is just going to help them do it faster. In the end, it may be funny, it may be paradoxical or ironic, but I think it just helps Democrats. White House claims Republicans are sending migrants to D.C. as political pawns, as Mayor Bowser called in the National Guard, as Governor Abbott says Washington will finally learn what Texans are dealing with every day. So what? They don't care. The White House slammed Republicans Thursday for using migrants as political pawns. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is requesting the National Guard be activated to help deal with the influx of migrants. This is a statement from Karine Jean-Pierre. We've been in regular touch with Mayor Bowser and her team, she said. And I said this before about Republicans using migrants as a political tool. And that is shameful and that is just wrong. There is a process in place for managing migrants at the border. This is not it. I just can't stand these people. The process is you go to a consulate, an embassy, or the border, and you legally apply to enter the country. This is not the process for dealing with the problem. This is them overlooking the problem. Eric Adams is also particularly angry. Adams calls on Biden as shelters overrun with migrants. Take a look at this. New York City's homeless shelters are being overrun with asylum-seeking migrants as the nation's immigration crisis continues to worsen, with nearly 3,000 arriving in recent weeks. Mayor Eric Adams warned Tuesday. Adams called on President Biden to send additional federal resources immediately so the city can handle the overflow. If we do not get these urgently needed resources, we may struggle to provide the proper level of support our clients deserve, while also facing challenges as we serve both a rapidly growing shelter population and new clients who are seeking asylum, Adams said in a prepared statement. Adams said the added migrant burden included families arriving on buses sent by the Texas and Arizona governments. But in other cases, he said, it appears that individuals are being sent by the federal government. Yes, we have the video of the plane landing in New York State with illegal immigrant children coming off. And there's a guy saying if the American people knew what their government was doing, if they knew. Well, this is what's happening. The federal government is sending illegal immigrants to these cities. They do it in the dead of night. Many Republicans have called them out, but Texas and Arizona aren't solving the problem. They're helping the Democrats. They're walking into the trap, or they're just party to it. I'm going to say it again. Carrie Lake, she's running for governor in Arizona, and she said she'd mobilize the National Guard, declare an invasion, and shut this down. What is Arizona currently doing? Sending illegal immigrants deeper into the United States? It's remarkable. Eric Adams calls Governors Abbott and Ducey cowards for sending immigrants to D.C. and to NYC. Well, maybe it did trigger some action. The Biden administration will close border wall gaps in Arizona. This is from today. The Biden administration said Thursday it had authorized U.S. Customs and Border Protection to close gaps in a border wall in Arizona near the Morelos Dam in order to protect migrants from drowning and sustaining injuries while trying to cross the Colorado River into the U.S. The Yuma Morelos Dam project will close 4 gaps located within an incomplete border barrier near the dam, the Department of Homeland Security said in a news release. In addition to posing safety and life hazard risks for migrants, the department said the gaps in the wall presented life and safety risks to first responders in the area. Upon taking office, President Joe Biden called for a review of ongoing border wall projects and rescinded the national emergency declaration authorized by Trump that allowed then Trump to dip into to additional funds to build his signature border wall. I want to stress this. Joe Biden shut down the policy, building the wall, creating the barrier to stop illegal immigration. Why? I think it was tribalism. Donald Trump said he wanted a big, beautiful wall from sea to shining sea, and he was building bollard fencing, very tall. Not a perfect barrier, of course. People can still get through it, but a barrier is better than nothing. Walls work. Well, Democrats lost their minds. So when Joe Biden came in, he was like, I'm gonna tear down this wall. Now the problem's escalated to the point where Joe Biden has no choice but to close these gaps. What I think is they have a quota. I think they want a certain number of illegal immigrants coming in. They're creating second-class citizens. Now they want to be giving them IDs. This country is being gutted and ripped apart. They say the Biden administration has been criticized by allies and critics alike over its management of the southern border. The administration has struggled to handle an influx of migrants coming to the border, and lawsuits and fighting have stalled policy changes. Lawsuits and fighting have stalled policy changes, which has resulted in more of the same Trump immigration policies. The Supreme Court earlier this month declined to freeze a lower court order that blocked DHS from implementing new immigration enforcement priorities. The court's 5-4 order was a loss for the Biden administration, which is trying to return to Obama-era policies that limit immigration arrests in order to focus on security risks instead of the more aggressive approach taken under the Trump administration. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I give you The Economist. There's that meme of the guy dressing up like a clown. And at first they said, inflation is transitory. It'll come and go. Then they said, inflation won't happen. Then they said it's not happening. Then they said, inflation may happen, but it's not that big a deal. And then they said, inflation's a good thing. Why inflation is good? They're doing the same thing with the recession. There are several articles that have already popped up in the past several months saying, here are the benefits to a recession. It could mean lowering of inflation and prices dropping now. And sure. When inflation goes up, they say the good news is you're going to get a raise. When a recession hits, they say the good news is that the costs are going to go down. Inflation will go down. But I thought you said inflation was a good thing. Here we go. Now they're going to start saying illegal immigration is a good thing. It's a good thing. They've been saying it. Now, the reality is they're not saying here in the Economist article that it's illegal immigration. They're saying the real crisis is not border crossings, but a shortage of new arrivals. Sort of conflating the two. I'll tell you. Yes, it can be good for the economy when people are legally entering the country with work visas. Because someone will come and they'll be like, I do this for a living and I'd like to come work in America. And we say, welcome aboard. Our communities can handle that. Donald Trump said something when he was running in 2015. He said, when Mexico is sending its people, they're not sending their best. They're sending criminals, et cetera, et cetera. The media said he called Mexicans, rapists or something like that. He didn't. He was saying that the people who are illegally crossing the border, drug smugglers, human traffickers, drug dealers, and some I say are good people. I think the reality is many of them are good people, but I would add, anyone who illegally enters the United States doesn't care for this country or its laws. I said it before. What makes a country? A country is defined as a nation with defined borders. I thought country and nation were synonymous, but I guess not. A nation is defined as a group of people with a shared history, set of laws, or cultural background. Interesting. If people from a different cultural background are coming into this country and they speak a different language, granted, we speak Spanish fairly, to quite a great degree in this country. But if they have disdain for the law is not being applied to them in the same way, you don't even have a nation. We want people to come legally. Donald Trump said it, legally. Let the migrants come legally. And now they're allowing this. The Economist says, almost every day for 4 months, buses carrying asylum-seeking migrants have disembarked near the heart of American power, just a half mile from Capitol Hill. Can I just point out, these people are not asylum seekers? No. I want to make sure that's clear. They may claim to want asylum, but the reality is they don't have valid asylum claims. There's specific criteria for getting asylum in the United States. And I think it's like 95% don't qualify because they are economic migrants. I get it, man. I got tremendous respect for these people, 100%. More so than the left in this country. I'd be down to be like, I got an idea. The left wants their socialist utopia, their woke paradise. What if those people got to go to Honduras and Guatemala implement those policies, and we got the people who love America and desperately want to be here. I mean, sounds like a good trade, because I'll tell you this. The people that are willing to travel thousands of miles and crawl through the desert, that is some hard work for a perceived reward. What I don't like is the disregard for our laws. It's like, dude, come on, man. You know, we've got something good going here because we set rules to make sure it works properly. I want all of these immigrants to come to this country. I really do. I think it'll be great. But they do it legally for a reason. So we know where we can put them, like what cities have availability, how can they thrive. Instead, the Biden administration has just shut them in. Now they're going to D.C. and New York City. Is that helping anybody? No. They're worse off. Now they need support. They say. The border crisis has come to dominate media coverage and political debate about immigration in America. All the while, another crisis of the opposite sort is brewing. A broader decline in immigration. I will tell you this. Well, let me read. They say net international migration that is accounting for both arrivals, whether authorized or not, and departures added 247,000 to America's population between 2020 and 2021. That was the smallest increase in the past 3 decades. If you want more people in this country, maybe people should have babies. Maybe if they had kids. But here's the idea. We don't want to wait a generation to add people to the economy. We want them in the economy now. That's the general idea, I guess. And it's stupid because babies make the world go round. I mean, child rearing is a massive portion of the economy. Why get rid of that? Not to mention, you need people. Elon Musk said it. Population growth is stagnant. It's on the decline in the United States and around the world. And that means our economy invariably will retract. We can't work harder and produce more, especially when there's less demand and less people. I think the problem that we face is mismanagement. We have too many people doing jobs that don't matter, getting paid money for resources we don't need to make. Like people need food and shelter and drive. But people are spending money on nonsense things, digital game items and things like that. They're working jobs producing things that aren't benefiting us. It is wayward and it's wasteful. What we need is shared national passion, like a space race. Every kid in this country should dream of being an astronaut so that we can start building an international space station, developing new technologies and improving life for everybody. Instead, kids are growing up and being taught to be woke. And the problem is ideology versus innovation is causing a major problem for us. Innovation. We find ways to improve the economy by making life better and easier, giving people things they want or need. But if it's aimless and it's like you've bought your 57th, cape in your online game, that's the economy. I suppose it's better than producing plastics. But what about developing a new kind of biodegradable material? What about building plastics that are durable but also biodegradable or better? Or there's a bacteria now they found that it's eating plastic. There are ways innovation can save the world and make life better, expand the economy. Unfortunately for us, we are beset on both sides by ideologues. I should say on all sides. You have nuclear power. And I don't mean politically left and right. I mean, we're surrounded by zealots. You have nuclear power. You want to reduce carbon emissions? Nuclear power is the way to go, baby. No emissions, high energy output, relatively safer than fossil fuels. That's right. Less people have died from nuclear accidents than from coal mining or petroleum rigs drilling. Why aren't we getting nuclear power? Zealots and ideologues. The left likes to come out and scream, the right are religious zealots holding us back. And I'm like, y'all are the ones stopping nuclear power, so don't come to me. I think we got to expand nuclear power like crazy. That would be fantastic. Newer generations of nuclear power, safer, stronger, better, faster, etc. But it's ideology. So these people are saying, we should add more migrants. And I'm like, we should have more kids. We should teach migrants. We should teach these other countries how to produce better energy, how to live better. Instead, we're like, open up the gates. It'll feel good. Is this going to solve any of our problems? I don't think so. We're culturally stagnant. We are not having kids. Creating a massive influx of low-skill labor is not going to solve the problem. And I don't mean that disparagingly. These individuals fleeing Honduras, these are not people who are tradesmen to a great degree. They're not high-level management scientists. They're low-skill workers. Again, not disparaging them, just reality. Now, they can probably do day labor and things like that, like general labor, construction, things we need help with. I'm totally cool with it. And we probably do need a lot of these jobs filled as people are retiring. But what's the end goal? I'll tell you what I think the end goal is. When The Economist writes about this, it's a serf class. They want to give these people IDs, but not citizenship. They want to allow them to work and receive benefits, but not vote. So you will have an underclass of serf labor. I'm not about that, man. I don't like that idea. Maybe the Democrats do, not me. I want people to be equals, to work together, to share their ideas, to share their culture, to live peacefully, to have free speech, to learn the truth about reality so we can make better decisions, live better, maybe one day travel the stars. Ideologues, they don't know or they don't care. And tribalists, they especially don't care as long as they win. This is what we're faced with. I think we've got a problem with Democrats and Republicans. I think the Republican solution here is stupid, maybe funny. Maybe it's working to some degree. Maybe it's giving you an emotional release laughing at DC scrambling. But I, in the end, just think Democrats are happy it's happening. Oh, no, they're sending in more migrants instead of deporting them. Okay. A legal process would be fantastic. I don't understand why they've just done away with the legal process. And now people are coming to this country and they're getting sick and they're dying in the desert and the media blames them. Well, I'll tell you this. These people, they're going to give them IDs. They're going to let them work and receive benefits. They don't need to vote in elections. They just need to be counted in the census to give electoral votes and congressional seats to the Democrats so they can win. And I hope you realize that's the long-term play. The more illegal immigrants they bring in, the larger their population expands. They bring into one state 750,000 people. They get a free congressional vote. They get a free electoral college vote. Unsustainable and unethical. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.